idea for the conference first started when I met with John Esposito in Washington, D.C. John said that he would like to do a conference on Islam in Southeast Asia.
I think in the last 20 years or so, 30 years, you can see a resurgence in all the major religions, not only in Islam, but in Christianity, in Judaism, and Hinduism, and Buddhism. And it continues to be very strong.
So in the end, actually, we broadened the conference to be on religions, not just on Islam. But then also we narrowed because we focused on religious resurgence, especially in the last 15 years, from about 1997 until 2011. We wanted to start a dialogue between leading thinkers in the area and involve Indonesians and Southeast Asians involved in the dialogue, so that Indonesians and Southeast Asians generally are having input to the dialogue on the role of religions in this social, political, economic change.
Well, first of all, the word resurgence itself, as you may see from the conferences, is contested concepts. But at the moment, there's some of them by offering maybe we better use revitalization, repositioning, re-emergence, etc. But for the start of conversation, we use that word resurgence with several meanings. And at least the meaning of the emergence of different expression of religiosity.
Actually, if you look at the period of resurgence, it would probably begin from the early 1970s. So actually, especially the revivalism of Islam has occurred from the 1970s onward. When we talk about resurgence, it means how a religion has become a very important factor for mobilization, for social movement mobilization.
An effect? Is it caused by the political, social, economic changes? Or is it, in fact, a power that is in some way helping create these political, social, economic changes? And what kind of impact does religion have in our societies?
There has been a significant increase in religiosity in two senses. One is in the very ordinary sense that the levels of religious observance has become far more widespread across vast portions of the world. But there's also been a religious resurgence in a second sense, which is equally important. There's been a religious resurgence in the sense that people who previously regarded religion as something that should be kept private and a matter of personal belief, growing numbers of them, not all, but growing numbers of them have concluded that religion is something that should be and is proper to be something public.
In the Philippines, the Christians and the Muslims have coexisted peacefully for generations. Now suddenly, since the 70s, there is a growing radicalism and Islamization of the communities. And I think the government has mostly looked at the military side of this. It has yet to look more deeply into the cultural, historical roots of this. It's a war of grievance that is 40 years old. And I would like some thoughtful answers on what will make for peace in the region. And I hope some of the reflections in this conference will help illuminate some of the very complex questions that are involved in that insurgency.
In Thailand,
there are many attempts to engage with the attempt to shape and reshape the public policies. There are a number of ways to do that. They come up with a reformist movement. It means the movement that separate themselves from the mainstream Buddhism and establish their own style of Buddhist practice. He's really encouraged Buddhists to go back to the text and then focus on meditation, and then encourage the public to apply more Buddhist teaching and principle into the public life.
In Indonesian context, no women have more choices actually, whether to follow this line of practice of religion. But as far as this is their consent, as far as this is their own decision, their convictions, then it doesn't matter because they do it with all the awareness of all the consequences. But if they only doing it because they're being told, and there is no other choice, there's no process of discussion, women should have the autonomy, the agency as far as the men have, because we both are the creation of God. So some of the emerging phenomena within Islamic communities is that several Islamic groups wanted to assert the control of women and silence women. This is, in my point of view, is some of the bad effect of the women, of this resurgence to women.
Well, it's like any other social change. Ada yang baik, ada yang buruk. Some things are good, some things are bad. It depends very much on what the cultural content and moral content of the different streams of the religious resurgence are. They're facing a world often that's changing very, very rapidly. They want a measure of stability. So I think the political consequences of the religious resurgence in most contexts is not actually all that strong.
Well, no, I see the future of religion, well, who knows, but if we're lucky, I think that the future of religion has to be today where all religions, as well as all peoples, whether they're religious or not, realize that our societies have to be based more on a notion of pluralism. There has to be a sense of national unity. There has to be a sense of equality of citizenship, and that much of that pluralism has to be based on greater understanding and respect.
Actual impact of religious communities, religious ideology, religion and politics, and so on in Southeast Asia is more powerful than ever. But I agree that a lot of it is not a very positive force within our societies, and we have a normative project here. Our normative project with this conference is not just to understand.
This kind of a conference has the potential for having a very big impact, because if we can get deep analysis and provide deep understanding of a process that's been happening, it can affect that process. And we are convinced that the interaction of religion and politics is having a huge impact in our society. if we can improve that process even a little bit, it can have an impact on the society in a very widespread way. Of course, the most obvious impact will be on education. So the education of people on religion and public life.
The best of the scholars, the best of the activists in the region would come and support the cause of ICRS. So this strengthens our own mission and vision. And so we thank you very much for this significant contribution thought of you. This become of the foundation for the blueprint of ICRS development. And so we thank you very much.